please give a big Texas-like welcome to Michael Cargill.
Good move, Mike.
What does it mean to stand your ground? In a street fight, it can mean not backing down when your life is on the line. In a political fight, it often means not backing down when your reputation is on the line. It means standing tall when the media, your opponents, or even a sizable portion of the electorate want to paint you as a fool, a madman, or worst of all, a corrupt pawn of malicious special interests. Tomorrow we celebrate the 85th birthday of a man who knew the importance of standing one's ground in the face of fierce opposition. In a speech delivered just 4 days before his death, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but it must be because his conscience tells him it's right." After Dr. King's stand cost him his life, friends and family said it was a fate he long predicted. For almost 5 years following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Dr. King continued his crusade for civil rights, fully expecting to someday suffer the same end. How many of us have such courage of conviction that we continue this fight, if we knew it would one day cost us our lives? I've heard many owners of guns perhaps imagine some noble last stand like the battles of the Alamo, or Thermopylae. Say they fight to the death to preserve their fight, to keep in their arms. But what if you knew that end would come not in a glorious battle, but like a thief in the night, catching you by surprise, and without the courtesy of a fair fight? Bring it! The way you caught Dr. King, would you still have the courage to stand up there? With your banners and your slogans? Knowing that doing so might take away from you, your family, tomorrow, or even tonight, or this very afternoon. I like to think it would. I like to think that we all would. But it's something to consider. How deep does your conviction run? Would you stand up when Congress is pushing new gun control laws? And when our city council is looking to shut down local gun shows? Will you stand up when it's your child's school? Besides, threatening her future because she chose to write an essay opposing gun control? Or when it's your boss telling you that your political activism reflects poorly on the company? How much are you willing to stand up? What are you willing to withstand? We heard a lot of criticism of the Austin police. The last I checked, they weren't turning the fire hose and dog guns. How many of you would be standing there right now if they were? Are you willing to continue standing until the final curtain falls? Yeah. Dr. King? Yes. Some people might find it ironic that I chose to reference MLK in a speech on gun rights. After all, Dr. King preached nonviolence. He was ultimately struck down by an assassin's bullet. Some would suggest that those facts alone position Dr. King's legacy as the antithesis of our crusade. But what people forget is that Dr. King, despite being a proud and fierce proponent of nonviolent political activism, was also a man who understood the inalienable right of self-defense and who drew a clear distinction between the right and the ideal of political nonviolence. In his 1967 book, Where Did We Go From Here?, Dr. King laminated the fact that some people had misinterpreted his call for nonviolence as just a suggestion that they would, or they should, not protect themselves at their homes from attack. He argued that the idea of nonviolence should not be interpreted as a meaning that one should never use a gun in self-defense. And he with this